Zippity-doo. I don't know if anybody can tell, but this camera looks really crooked. It's not. It's just my world is crooked. My woman, my woman, my world is on a slant. All right. I'm ready to go. So, I have a few things. Actually, I have nothing on my mind. But I'm sorry I wasn't able to make it yesterday because I was under the weather a little, and just some minor stuff. I'm feeling better today, a little better. So what was my? I'm going to do. I was thinking of writing a song about, or composing a song about people that I guess do things without knowing what they're doing, can cause them a lot of hardship in the future. For example, Facebook is very popular today, and a lot of people go on there and talk about stuff in their local community. And in the business and show business, a lot of these people I know on Facebook, I know personally, and because I don't go and just get everybody who's interested to be a friend unless I've met them and I know them. So, because you're not supposed to do that for starters, and yeah, I just don't want to keep it pretty. Anyways, everybody I know on Facebook are people that I've met and I actually know, and I want them to be with me on Facebook. So some people put stuff on there, and these include friends of mine, and I think after they put it on there, they shouldn't have put that on there because they start talking about things they shouldn't talk about. So the first thing that was kind of on my mind is, wouldn't that be a great subject? Because yours truly has put his, I've put my foot in my mouth so many times that I've been labeled certain things by my friends and other people, just because I think it has a lot to do with it because I'm a composer and a songwriter. I excuse me. I tend to say things that are a little bit in public, especially, are a little bit racy or taboo. Shouldn't say things like that. I get people tell me that so often, and I think, well, why would I censor what I say if that's what I feel? And I don't know that I've ever hurt someone's feelings about that being that way, because I'm also very sensitive to that. So by saying certain things, I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. And you always hurt the ones you love. So I know that I've done that to my own family and probably accidentally hurt their feelings, but I apologize when that happens. So, but on this Facebook thing, when someone's talking about something else, they don't always realize what they're talking about. For example, a person that I know was strongly connected to a venue, and this person was doing a house gig, doing sound at this venue for a long time, really long time. Anyways, for years, well, actually for decades, and did a good job. And in businesses, and especially hotels and stuff, they change ownership. And when they change ownership, the owners don't have to do what the previous owners were doing. So, and times change, and people want different stuff. And what was working in one era might not be working in 2022. We're finishing off with a pandemic, I hope. And I think people all have different attitudes. So this person I know is making comments, negative comments about this venue, and I don't think he really realized that, yeah, because he's doing a post, his name is connected to that post. So everyone is familiar with the person. Well, not everyone is familiar with the person's name. However, a lot of musicians know this person, and musicians talk just like people talk in groups. People talk. So, what the repercussions of what this person said, I wasn't even going to go there and make a comment saying, "Hey, man, be careful what you're saying." So we'll see where the where what turns out because of these comments he said, and it's a very popular venue he used to be involved with, and they're still probably the most popular venue in this city. So that in itself was something that I felt there's got to be some kind of story to tell here about Facebook and the way people go on Facebook without realizing who they are. And I think some people kind of wised up, and I keep hearing people say on Facebook that they're in Facebook jail. I don't even know what that really is, but I think it has to do when you say something, and and the people that monitor Facebook don't like what you said, and they just stop your Facebook thing for the time being until it's like being put in a penalty box, like in hockey or something. Anyways, so not that this is going to happen to this person, I know. However, I just know that some people have started using aliases, so if they do get put in the penalty box, they've got other accounts they can use, and Facebook doesn't know. So I'm pretty careful about what I do on YouTube and what I say on Twitch and all the other platforms that I do the show on, because diplomacy is like the best policy in my opinion. You know, you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So anyways, so I'm thinking, well, what would be a good subject matter of saying things that are inappropriate that has become such a huge issue in our society. And I'll tell you right now, from my experience before the internet even existed, whether it was rumors or just people saying stuff, you can get yourself into a little bit of trouble following that. So it doesn't really mean the internet's responsible for this. It's just social media has made it more common and on a wider scale. Because when you're on friends on Facebook and you say something, or on YouTube and you say something, that information is going out to everybody in the world, everybody who's on the internet. And that includes everybody who can receive an internet signal through Wi-Fi or at their home or office or whatever. You know, people might be watching this from their office. I don't know. I'm not interested to figure out how to find out. So my show is all about is to show people how to compose music or songwrite from their own perspective, or from looking at a certain subject and then composing something on it. So this song or this composition that I'm going to come up with today, I think, is going to be I got two options here, right? I've got the option of personalizing it from the person's point of view who made the comments, and using my imagination, you know, what can be the result of making comments like that. Or I can do it from my perspective. And I think personalizing things in music, when it comes to songwriting and composing, when you personalize things, people hear it differently. They hear it coming from a person. And in some situations, and I think in most situations with songwriting, when you personalize whatever the topic is, I think it makes it more palatable to the listener's ears, because simply because they're thinking, it might not be the case, but they're thinking, oh, this guy's telling me a story about something experienced. Not always. That's not always the case. A lot of people write tunes and compose tunes when they see stuff, and then they go home and they write about it. So, and that can cover a lot of bases. Like I see friends of mine fall in love and fall out of love and are in love, and it's getting back to that whole Chuck Berry philosophy of songwriting, right? So yeah, the Facebook issue and or social media. Like, I'm just familiar with Facebook. I've heard there's a whole bunch of. I'm every day I hear something about a new platform to voice your opinion on, or uncensored stuff that you can go on and just ramble on about certain things. So, well, I think the most popular one is probably Facebook. So that's what I think a lot of people go to, and it might be an age thing too. I know my son does Discord a lot, and I've heard of what was the other one? There's Twitch. I don't know if a lot of that happens on Twitch. I could be wrong. Anyways, so here we are. We're the point is, I'm gonna create a song based on this guy's. I'm gonna put myself in this guy's shoes. So what I do know about this person. I'm not even gonna name names. All I'll say is it's a guy. He worked for someone for a long time, and then they let him go. So I would say, I spent my whole life devoted to you, which would go with, just for accompaniment. Not sure how this is going to go in the long run, but that's something I'm thinking. I spent my whole life devoted to you. You fired me after all we'd been through. So I spent my whole life devoted to you. You fired me after all we've been through. And then maybe go up here or down there, or like here I am again, just like I mentioned in my last show, that I'm always drawn towards the 3-chord rock and roll or blues progression. So I spent my whole life devoted to you. You fired me after all we've been through. Not bad for a first off line. And I think this song might end up being possibly a rock and country genre, because right off the top it reminds me of one of the other songs I composed about 15 years ago, which was called Ketchamoot. Actually, that's not how it is. I moved to Ketchamoot to be with you. Now I'm alone and don't know what to do. So it's got that sort of feel. So that's a song I wrote a long time ago called Ketchamoot. So I spent most of my life devoted to you. Now you fired me. Then you fired me after all we've been through. So you got the first line rhyming with the second line. Now, something that I have a tendency to do is make the third and fourth line rhyme with each other. But let's see where this goes. I spent my whole... And this might be a rock and roll tune too. Preferably I like to compose in the rock and roll genre because I don't really think I have any friends in the country scene. My friends are in rock and roll and blues. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I got some friends that play country music as well. So it all depends where the song is going to go. Yeah, I feel it should be going up to the 4. This is kind of a neat technique I'm using, which I kind of developed. I don't know anybody else who plays that way, but I used it the first time 2 weeks ago on stage, and the bass player who I stand beside, looked over at me and he had never heard me play anything like that before. But it was sounding like someone playing piano because I had a very clean tone, much like this. Anyways, it's my new technique. I'll show you how it works later. Unless you can already figure it out. So that could be a possible progression for this song. So we're underway. We're composing. So I'll see if because it's such a generic thing, and it's easier to come up with stuff based on. I'm just going to straighten that a bit. Ugh. It's easier to come up with stuff when you're. I think when you're looking at from the outside in a way, and looking at someone else's story and imagining what they might end up experiencing in your story. So there's a few different places I'd like to go with this, but I think I'm going to keep it relatively simple. A point I'd like to make, a side note, when you are composing stuff, just because you're composing something and the day before you composed, or a week before, a month ago, or 15 years ago, you compose something that sounds similar, don't sweat it, because that's just how things are shaping up for you, and it's not good or bad. It's just the way things happen. For example, a blues guy named Jimmy Reed had something like 15 or 25 number one songs in the R&B charts throughout the 50s and probably part of the 60s. Jimmy Reed basically had one template for his songs, and they were 12-bar blues, but he had a way of playing in almost every one of his songs. I could go through the 12 bar blues, but his turnarounds were, sorry, in every one of, almost every one of his turnarounds had that melody on the turnaround. So you go for the 1, 4, 1, 5, 4, 1, da 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 da. Almost every song that I've ever heard him do. So he had a template that worked, and maybe it's because it was back in the 50s that things were different. He could play something and get away with playing almost the identical rhythm, or just play it in a different key and just slightly change things a little bit. The lyrics would always be different in all of these songs, so the story would change on every song. However, the melody and the music rarely changed, or changed very slightly. So whether or not that works today, I think there are some bands like AC/DC that they've had a formula forever, ever since I can remember first hearing them, and that formula works. So they do make some big, well, I wouldn't even call them big changes. They make changes to what they're playing. Malcolm Young, who passed away not long ago, was considered a genius because he, rest in peace, he knew how that worked, because I think he was apparently he was a huge Chuck Berry fan. So all the recordings that AC/DC did were very similar to Chuck Berry recordings. Totally different sound, because they're just young boys from Australia rocking out. However, they knew blues very well too. So let's just say Chess Records, is a huge influence on them. So, to make my point, don't fret if you, pardon the pun, end up composing something that sounds a little bit something like something you composed earlier. Because also, it might be a stepping stone. Your earlier composition might be a stepping stone to even a better song. So it almost like a part one, part two. And I've also heard that from many musicians as well, how they've recorded, they even recorded some songs, and they recorded 5 tunes, and then when they're recording their 6th tune, they're saying, geez, this is better than the first song. Let's forget about the first song and go with this song. I'm not a great believer in that, because you're kind of losing some art, which people might have really enjoyed. So it all depends on who the musicians are, and their philosophy, or their way of doing things in their band goes. So, and that's in a band composing sort of style. So when it comes to your songs, and you might be already starting to compose music with your friends, which is awesome, because collaborating makes it a lot easier. It doesn't put so much stress on you, and things get done quicker. Like, it's common sense, because the more people you have working on one thing, the quicker things can get done, depending on the complexity of what it is as well. So I like composing with a collaborator, but on this show I'm teaching people how, or trying to teach people. I'm not a great teacher, but I like to show people what's involved with composing a song. because I've done it quite a bit. Successfully, too, with royalties and everything. So we've got this tune that we were coming up with based on a friend of mine. And after all that talking, let's see if I can remember what I said. Because I didn't record it. I might have to check out the video again, rewind. I, I spent my life devoted to you. That might be different than what I said earlier. I like that better now. I spent my life devoted to you. Then you fired me after all we've been through. So, this is exactly what I'm talking about, is that I'm starting the song early, like almost half an hour ago. And now I've changed it a little bit more to, I spent my whole life devoted to you. I can't remember if that's exactly what I said. I don't think it is. I spent my whole life devoted to you. Now you left me after all we've been through. So now it's going in a totally different direction. And that is the beautiful, most fun thing about composing your song instead of copying someone else's song. You see what I mean? Because you're composing it, you're making it your own. It's your song. So you can do whatever you want with it. And so many players had said that. And I'll credit Keith Richards for telling me that too in his book Life, I think. That's where I first heard about it. And I thought, well, that's interesting. That happens to that guy. And it's happened to me composing songs as well. So this song might turn into something completely different and not even be about this guy that I intended composing this song about. So, and the songs that about love, rock and roll, sex and drugs, like Trish says, is like, that's always that's most commonly the most successful songs that are on the Billboard Top 100 for every year throughout history. It's got those sort of topics. So rather than singing about working for somebody, turn it into a love song, which always, I don't know why, but she's got a point. It always seems to have a greater impact. So, I spent my whole life devoted to you. And now you left me after all we've been through. Ooh, that's heavy. I like that. I like that more than what I had before about being fired or whatever. Because that's just so... I don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? It's just something that people don't really want to hear. So, and it's also leaning towards the Ketchamoot song. If you ever hear Ketchamoot, I don't know if it's still on the internet somewhere. But that song is about the falling in love process. So here we are, as I mentioned, that song could sound like this one. This could be like part 2 of the song, which it's not, because I'm writing that was personal. The Ketchamoot song was personal, first person. And this is writing something about someone else and changing it from their story to more of a love story. So that's basically inspiration. And so when you get inspired to compose something, it doesn't matter what the inspiration is, because it might end up going somewhere else that you had no idea of it going there, just like now. So I'm liking the fact that I've gone from telling one story about employment and a relationship with an employee, boring, to a love story, being in love with someone, and then all of a sudden something happens in that relationship and they part company. And everyone's familiar, I think everyone's familiar with that, probably more familiar with that than working for somebody and getting fired. Because keep in mind, in a lot of relationships, there's usually one person that is the breadwinner, right, of the family. And I think that's becoming more popular now than it was years ago, because society is changing so much that the days of man and woman married church, that's kind of disappearing. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. It's just happening in society, and it's going to go wherever it goes. So the common thing, though, is the love in all those relationships. So I think love is a very, very strong subject to be composing music for. So let's go from what I've stated for the lyrics. I've devoted my whole life. I can't remember it now. Sorry, my memories. That's the creative process too. When you come up with something and you're talking about something else, which makes it difficult because I'm kind of doing a show. I have to talk about what I'm doing. I forget about what I just composed. But nice thing is, I'll probably be able to go back and watch my video and go, oh yeah, that works. Which is what I'm going to start doing pretty soon, because I've done several of these now with a lot of unfinished songs. So I think I have to start creating a circular group where these 20 or 30 songs that I've composed over the past couple of months on YouTube and Twitch, I can go back now and start finishing them off and then doing shows about those. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that, because that I usually like to collaborate with others on, and I might do that. I'm not sure. So I spent my whole life devoted to you, or I spent most of my life devoted to you. Because if you say, and I don't really like to analyze my lyrics that much, but because I'm talking, I feel like I should. If you're devoting your whole life to someone, that means you've known somebody since you were a baby, which is not usually the case in a relationship. So I've devoted a lot, or I've devoted so much of my life. No, what? Devoted so much of my life to you. I'm starting to lose my grip on this song, so I have to think a little bit. Devoted so much of my life devoted to you. No. Now you've left me after all we've been through. I spent most of my life devoted to you. I think that's similar. Spent most of my life devoted to you. Yeah, now I'm getting confused with my Ketchamoot song. Oh well. I think the message is pretty clear on what if I think back now to what I was originally composing this song on, the story of this person who got fired because society changed, and the end of the pandemic issues and stuff like that have really changed lives, and the Facebook thing, right? So this is all about a story on Facebook and imagining where that story was going to go. So I might have been off on a tangent with this as well, and that can happen. So when I do change gears in the middle of writing a song or composing a song, and I think, well, this would be better this way. It might not necessarily be better that way for this tune. So what I can do is go back to my original imagination, or imagining what was going to happen. So I can go back to, I work most of my life working, I spent most of my life working for you. Now you fired me after all we've been through. But in life, one door opens when the other closes. Now we have to figure out something that rhymes with closes. All I can think of is Moses. Or hoses. And when that does happen, don't quit. What I usually do, like, don't quit with that thought process. Go through your imagination and the alphabet, and maybe you will hit a word that will rhyme with closes. See, this is something really important to get out of it's a bit of a writer's block, but not really. It's just a stumbling block. So I've got a word closes, right? So I've got some options now. One door opens when another one closes, baby. So I can change that last word so that it's not the last word. Move it back a bit and put baby in its place as your last word. And then all I have to do is rhyme with baby. Lots of words rhyme with baby. Like maybe is probably the most popular one. So this is a crucial point in composing music, is instead of having it as a stumbling block, you can get over it or jump over it or use it as a stepping stone to the next phrase. So what I would think is the next, if we look at the word closes, what I would first do, and my song, in my composing process, when I do run into this situation, I'll run through the alphabet to find out what words I can create that'll rhyme with closes, and it ain't gonna be Moses. So A, B, C, D, dozes, no. E, F, G, H, I, J. Noses? No. Although nose, like I knows, or no one knows, can rhyme with closes. Believe it or not, although it sounds like it is a different rhyme, but the clo and the no are the parts that rhyme. So when you're singing it, I could say one door opens when the other closes, and what's going to happen next, no one knows. I don't like it, so I wouldn't use it. So I'd keep going and go through nose, lows. That's a good one. Lows, closes, loses. It's the closes, because it's like an EZ ending, which you can also find, there's not many words that end with an N like the word closes. So what I would do at this point is quickly run through the alphabet, find something that might work, try it. Try saying it differently so they rhyme together. But that's kind of a nightmare, and it's probably going to take you on a path that you don't really want to go on. So the next best thing is, like I said earlier, is move that, or move that word backwards in the line, so that it's not the last word in the line that you've got to rhyme with. So I use baby a lot. I say um, um. No, I don't. I rhyme with much with um, but I say it a lot. So one door opens when the other closes. You could change closes to a different word, shuts. So there's that's an old saying. I don't know where it comes from. Opportunity kind of thing. So when one door closes, another one opens. That's not always the truth, unless there's another door. Sometimes that door is the last door, and so you're outside. So, but anyways, the I don't want to paint myself into a corner here, so I'm just going to move on with, let's say, oh yeah. One door opens when the other closes. Oh yeah. Um, no, that doesn't really flow. And that's another thing, is these things have to flow, right? As you're saying, because when you start singing the song, sometimes if you don't have it flowing that great, don't panic, because when you start playing it more and more and you think you've completed the song, guess what? You can start changing those words to better suit the flow. By that I mean, what I'm talking about with these two last words rhyming. That has a lot to do with the flow, and a lot of other composers don't really realize this, although it doesn't really affect their music, because they're incredible poets and they can make anything happen with words. Bob Dylan has got some incredible lyrics to songs that, how did he make that work? Um, so the he how do you do it? He just go somewhere else with the words, with different chords and different melody. Um, so with the and you can scratch entire verses, right? So you can keep your first line or two lines, and then change your next line if you're having too much trouble with it. So getting back to the core idea of, well, I guess it's kind of like two ideas: a relationship that doesn't end well, or having a job and working for it for a long time in that job and then getting laid off. It's hard to pull rock and roll out of something like that, or because you're not going to pull sex, drugs, or rock and roll out of that statement. I don't think. It would be kind of tough. To me, it'd be really tough. So I would say sticking with the actual story of being fired from a job. I can just keep working out different ways of saying different things, different possibilities, different one when I'm saying one door opens and the other one closes, I could also say, this isn't the end, I can get a new job. It's kind of saying the same thing, or making the same story, because what I'm trying to show you is going from one thought to the next thought, but having those two thoughts kind of related to each other to carry you to the fourth line of what is turning out to be a verse for this song. So, and I've completely forgot what the first two lines are again. But yeah, I think you're getting the idea. basically when you got the first two lines, the last words of the first two lines rhyme, which were, I just can't remember them now. And that's why it's important to write things down. So I'm making a mental note that when I do this, I'm going to start writing things down on paper so I can refer to them. And I'm just saying that because I'm trying to teach you the different ways of composing songs, about using your imagination. When before the internet and computers and all that stuff, I would I would have one of these and a piece of paper. Boop. And I would just start writing stuff down. And you've heard millions of stories where people say, oh, I just was at a restaurant, I started writing this down, and this amazing song is written on a napkin from a restaurant. You've probably heard that story from other famous people. So even this piece of paper I just grabbed, I don't know what it's from, but it's got a bunch of scribblings on it for a song I was writing about the Queen, because of issues with Canada and the Queen and our government and stuff. Anyway, the government, I should say. But anyways, on this note, I'm kind of going to leave this where it is now. I know I'm not solving something, but I'm really letting you know what can happen when you are composing. And this could be why a lot of people lose interest in composing. It's not a piece of cake. It takes a lot of imagination and it takes a lot of passion. So when you what the point is, if I'm looking at a different situation of a guy being fired from a job, that's not going to affect my heart a lot or my emotions, because it's a friend of mine, but I really don't care because he's going to get another job. In fact, he probably already has one. So, but when it's something that is in your heart, I think it makes it much easier to write a song. And the song Ketchamoot that I was playing, here, I'll play you that as we exit here. You'll see what the lyrics are about. It's a personal song that I wrote 15 years ago. And I can sing it today, memorized, because the words meant so much to me. I moved to Ketchamoot to be with you, and now I'm alone, don't know what to do. You got a place now for all your stuff, but it don't seem to be enough. Come on, baby, come on. I told your mama and your papa too, I really wanna marry you. When I asked you and you said no, I would not let you go. Come on, baby, come on. Baby, baby, won't you? Baby, baby, won't you? Come on, sugar mama, can't you see? Baby, baby, won't you? Come on, baby, come on. So then it goes off into a solo, and then there's another third verse is, I try so hard to understand. You're always saying you don't need a man. How could I ever been so dumb? Now I know I am the one. Come on, baby, come on. So that's the last verse. And it's kind of a cutesy pie sort of song, because after all this frustration of the first two verses, the last verse is, although she doesn't want to marry me, she loves me, and I'm the one that she loves. So it's kind of, there could have been another verse before that one and have 4 verses, but no, I just wanted to get to the point and get the song over with. I don't know if that's the right decision or not, but what it is what it is. The song's been around for a long time. So, and my point being that it was first person, right? Actual experience, and those seem to carry the most amount of impact for songwriting. And it doesn't just have to be about girls. It can be a relationship with your mom, your dad, anybody that you care about or love. And it's going to have, I think, more impact. Now, the other thing that I should mention, like I seem to talk a lot about love and that being a strong foundation for music, which it really is, because love covers a lot of different stuff. It's probably the hugest emotion. But there's also the emotion called anger, and anger everybody has, and it can. I've composed a song or two in an angry frame of mind. This one about the Queen is not a real happy song. It's not. It's just in the composition process. But I recorded and composed a song called "The Illuminati" when I started learning about what the word meant and who it represented and how it affected society. That group of people, the 1% that controls all the wealth of the planet, and so things that your imagination can run away with you on at that topic. Total rock and roll song, and very very heavy and hard, and that's another song that's not got anything to do with love, but I know the words for that song because they're harsh. Um, Poisoning the things we eat, want to get rid of you and me. It's coming sometime, and you will see just how bad it's going to be. When I composed this, that's going back about 10 years ago. I still haven't recorded it or played it live. I played it live a couple of times, and the reaction of the people were like, yikes. Because the other verses are even more controversial and conspiracy linked, because there's a ton of conspiracies going on regarding those sort of topics. Our our current government situations around the planet are messed up. You know, I always thought when I was in my 20s, yeah, oh, this is going to be great when I start getting old. We're going to have one world government. There's not, and there's going to be no borders. That's what I was thinking, and a lot of people in my generation thought. And what happened is it just got worse. Like stuff, you know, worse or better, whatever you call it. I don't think diversification or diversity amongst countries or people or religions, all that stuff. That's never been a really cool thing. So when you write songs like this song, like I said, was written 10 years ago, and it had a pretty harsh message for people, and that is not really doesn't really have anything to do with love. It has more to do with I wouldn't say hate, but not despite. I guess it's spiteful in a way. Anyways, so that's a song that once again the words just came to me like flowing out of a fountain. The melody of the guitars, I actually composed this entire song. I composed using the internet and taking from it certain songs that I thought would fit. And so with the computers, this is one of the first things I composed using a computer and not this, is I could take little samples of things, and then I pasted them all together and duplicated, cut and paste, and all that kind of stuff in a composing or a recording program, and created this song. Drum beat to, there was no guitar solo, but drum beat, guitar rhythm, bass rhythm, and it's crazy how it all fell into place. It was super easy too. But the point is that when you compose music, you're not really sure what categories it's going to fall in, unless you have the mindset of, I'm going to write a rock and roll song, I'm going to write a rap song, I'm going to write a hip hop song, and country, whatever, jazz, any genre you choose. You can kind of go into it with that attitude. So, as we were talking about in the last show, the price of love is probably the best statement. And I wanted to have that prepared, but it didn't work out yesterday. Like I said, I was under the weather. So I think probably for the next show, I'm gonna have a lot more for that song, because that song seems to me has a lot more potential because of the title and the sound of the phrase, the high price of love. It just seems really cool. So that's what I think we're going to work on for the next show. And sometimes I feel like the Friendly Giant doing this. I don't know if you remember that show. It was a show when I was a little boy about this giant. Anyways, thanks for checking this out. And I know this may be a kind of feeling of, what was that all about? Well, and that can be songwriting and composing too. Is you come up with an idea, it doesn't pan out, but it's there and it's going to be there, and it's recorded. So if you think that song, and you have or you have the experience of a similar situation, which probably everybody does, add to the song, make it your own. I'm not coming after anybody for anything, because this is strictly for learning purposes, right? All these riffs, all these melodies, and whatever I'm coming up with, it's for everybody. I'm not, I only plan on giving this stuff, not taking anything back from it. So thank you for joining and watching this episode, the show. And if you like what's going on and you want to be notified, like sometimes I don't always get on this like the next day, like I say I'm going to, because stuff happens. And this lesson thing is a high priority for me. It's just a lot of stuff's going on right now because of gigs and commitments and stuff. So tomorrow is Friday, and I do have time, so I'll be back here tomorrow at 2 p.m. on Mountain Standard Time if you want to check it out live. But once again, this is none of this show is rehearsed. This is all happening as it happens. So I don't have anything written on paper, a script, nothing. This is all for your benefit on how to learn to compose from my perspective. And it's not uncommon. You'll notice if you listen to other songwriters, lots of similarities. So good luck. And if you want to know when things are happening, I'm not sure exactly how that works yet, but you can subscribe. I know that's an important thing. So and always make comments, and I read the comments to see what people think. So thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Yeah. If I can figure out how to shut this off. Oh, got some kind of alert. There we go.